there's a lot of people who they themselves weren't necessarily inclined towards kufr and stuff, but because of like bad leaders and people who were aggressive and this and that, and them not kind of resisting or standing up or being scared of the people, they kind of just went along with it. And this is why a lot of the conversations that you hear in the Quran, especially like in Surah Araf and stuff, there's people talking that these guys are the ones that basically like led us astray, like give them double punishment, because it's because of them that we're kind of like here. And I feel that a lot of the times people behave in a way which is contrary to the way they should behave for their own souls, for their own success. But they do it because of the fear of people. And sometimes the fear of people is really huge. It's really massive. And it really affects people's lives. It affects people's decisions. It's a really, really huge thing. And I've never really heard it as a sickness of the heart, but it actually makes a lot of sense to me. And I think, it's one of the biggest issues I think we as human beings have as social creatures, But generally, what I will say is with most fear, the reason why the fear is a fear is because it's kind of all jumbled up in someone's head. So when you have a fear, you got to remember it's irrational. It's not a logical thing. And so because of that, the fear is all over the place. Now, there's certain fear which is very, very straightforward. For example, if there was a lion in this room right now, like a real lion, everyone, including me, should be scared. Like that's a real physical fear. Okay. But a lot of the times the other things are not real physical fears which are going to cause us to die. Like if someone thinks I'm a loser, I'm terrible, I'm the worst human being, and they write stuff on YouTube and all, like, yes, that can hurt someone, but it's not going to like end my life unless I do it myself and Allah protect us, right? So because of that, you have to realize that there's a difference between real, actual fear to your survival, for example, compared to the psychological fear. And with the psychological fear, what needs to happen is that you need to define it. What happens with a fear is that when it's undefined, it stays a fear. But once you define the fear, it changes everything. So one of the things that I would do is that, let's say I have a fear of people, other people or their opinions, I would start defining it, right? What is my actual fear? And I remember like my whole life, I've been scared of snakes, right? And I remember I've just been scared. But when someone said, what are you scared about a snake? I'm like, I don't know. Like I've never touched a snake, so I can't say it's the skin or this. So I wasn't even sure. And then when I started like trying to like rationalize, okay, what is the fear? I said, the fear is like I might get bitten by a snake. Okay, what will happen if I get bitten by a snake? Well, if I get bitten by a snake, it depends on what, and I started like rationalizing what actually is the fear. So I think one of the best things that anyone can do is that they can actually define the fear. And I think as soon as you define the fear, what will happen, what will happen, what will happen, you start defining everything, I think it lessens the power of the fear immediately. But most people, they don't think, they don't sit down and stop and think, and what am I scared? They just think, I'm scared, that's it, I'm scared, I'm not going to do this, I'm scared. But I would say, no, sit down, define the fear. Now, once you define the fear, I think the next thing is really to take action immediately on the fear. Take action immediately on the fear. Why? Because what happens is when you have a fear and then you have time combined, the fear expands with time. So let's say that, I have a fear of, let's say I'm riding a bike today and I'm learning how to ride a bike at 5. And I fall and I cut my knee and it bleeds. And the first time in my life, I see blood splurting out my leg. Okay. And I get very frightened by that. I get very scared. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go on a bike now. Right. So I'm scared to ride a bike because of what happened. Right. So for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 5 day, I don't ride it. Then like a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years, 5 years it's been now, I haven't ridden a bike. And every time I think about riding a bike, I think about that thing that happened to me. Right. And so now, like, as time's gone on, my fear's gone so big. Whereas if I had gone on the bike the next day, the fear wouldn't have been so much.